Chapter 83A: Brutal Aftermath after Walter's concert in Stuttgart. Curious press people lined up to hand over the case. Walter asked for time and understanding. The media pressure became unbearable. How is it possible, from one day to the next, to be a celebrated artist to become a danger to society? Some would say, this is an impossible problem. Artists have been involved in political disputes and have been persecuted and harassed as a result of a burning political commitment. But in Walter's case, the rebellion is based on his controversial view of art. He was of course aware that art and culture are the very oxygen of a country's population. Not just the identity of a single nation, but larger continental areas. Art knows no national borders. It travels freely unless a cultural police is deployed and arrests the artist. The episode in Stuttgart was reminiscent of the last one. Walter had done nothing criminal, but simply held an extensive concert with famous masterpieces from the history of music and finally his own organ symphony. Normally, such a concert would be completely uncontroversial. But a critic from the Stuttgart Zeitung named Baumgarten wanted it different. He had become engrossed in Walter's own program note. A scathing critique of music critics, that is, the reviewers, those who know best, those who judge, those who are unassailable but mean to the artist and his personal expression. They are most often pre-programmed with a one-sided understanding of the genre and live and breathe the suppression of artists. Especially artists with our credo they themselves do not like. In other words, not a broad, empirical and nuanced music criticism, but a subjective, trend-oriented and often populist music criticism that polarizes more than informs. Walter had thoroughly studied Baumgarten's background before he traveled back to Stuttgart to meet the critic himself in a live TV debate with a subsequent press conference. The program host began by asking what this commotion was about. Political discussions and arguments took place daily, but here the theme was art and culture. An undefined phenomenon where artistic expression of different character and appearance was usually legitimate and harmless. Most people can accept artistic expression that provokes and shocks. It is in the nature of art to be sensational, to pique curiosity. An artistically correct expression becomes uninteresting and predictable. Now it was precisely this unpredictability that Walter wanted to eliminate. He claimed that the so-called innovative contemporary art, the one we collect under the concept of postmodernism, or postmodernism, had itself become predictable. The sensational no longer functioned as sensational. This irritated Baumgarten to no end. He aimed his gun at Walter, quivering in an academically assumed tone, almost trembling from the panel chair. He should have refused to be characterized as a follower of provocative, radical postmodernism. He was an honorable cultural warrior who fought for the innovative, according to himself. And here Walter quickly interjected. This is precisely the problem. You are fighting for something utopianly innovative in a misunderstood way. You think that the break with the already conservative art is radical and future-oriented? I am of a completely different opinion, Walter added. The host would first like to know what Walter stood for and why his view of art had provoked so deeply. Walter was well prepared and had the answer ready to hand. He began with a funny truth. The new thing about the new is that it is not new. Everything new is chewed up from old news. It can be sold as the latest new, but is basically manipulation of the old so that the packaging looks new. A well-known trick in the profit-seeking zeal of market liberals. But it is a little more complicated than that. Walter, at the risk of meeting himself at the door, continued to argue that what we today call generic, i.e. something general, everyday or trivial, has in fact taken on a completely new meaning in relation to the original. Generic originally meant something that originated in a species, a specific hereditary trait. The meaning it has acquired today has been completely turned on its head and completely watered down. Having said this, Walter continued with his view of art, which to Baumgarten seemed like a hopeless paradox. But before he went into this, the host wanted to hear about Baumgarten's own view of art. It became impossible to keep this TV debate within the tabloid format when Baumgarten started it. A continuation follows in later chapters.